So let's say a player comes to you and offers you $1 million to just drop everything and train them for 2 months straight. Now, during that 2 months, what do you think realistically you could accomplish with them?
If you put somebody through the ringer, this would be the equivalent of like an esports boot camp. I mean, I don't really see any reason that people shouldn't be able to get to Grandmaster in 2 months. There's like, you should be able to get to 99th percentile if you do that for 2 months.
Imagine reaching the top 1% of your game in only a few months. This sounds amazing, but it also sounds a little insane. Is it actually possible to improve your skills that much in such a short period of time? Well, unless you know how to train like a professional player, then this probably isn't gonna happen for you. But luckily, in my conversation with Jayne, he broke down exactly how you can train this way, laying out a complete schedule and highlighting some of the most important aspects for reaching a high level of skill extremely fast. So, is it really possible? And if so, how can you do it? So some of the viewers will be coming from other games besides Overwatch. So for those viewers, tell them a bit about yourself and how you got into coaching.
Do content primarily. That's how I got my start, was doing educational esports content, primarily analyzing professional Overwatch. And then I did get hired as a professional coach for the Dallas Fuel, which is one of the franchises in Blizzard Activision's Overwatch League.
So with experience coaching on the pro stage, Jayne is confident that with a methodical approach to the game, you can achieve huge results in a matter of months. But is this physically possible? You see, as you develop your skills and knowledge in any domain, your brain has to make physical changes on a cellular level to adapt in order to accommodate that new skill. This is referred to as neuroplasticity, and it can be a long process. Some processes like adult neurogenesis and long-term potentiation can take weeks or even months to occur. But in a study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology, Philippa Lally and her research team decided to figure out how long it actually takes in order to make a new behavior automatic. And knowing this can give us a better idea of how long it takes those physiological changes in the brain to occur, especially as we develop new skills and make them automatic. Now, the study examined the behavior of 96 people over a 12-week period, and the time it took participants to reach a level of 95% automaticity ranged quite a lot, but it averaged out to around 66 days, just over 2 months. So going from a beginner esports player to a top 1% player in just a couple months might actually be possible. In your personal opinion, what do you think is the most important factor that allows a player to go from a beginner level of skill or an average level of skill to a professional level of skill in the shortest amount of time possible?
It depends on motivation. Like, the very first question that I always have to start with when I'm working with an individual is like, why do you want to do what you want to do? There's a lot of people who think they want to go pro, but they don't actually. They want to be famous, or they want to be rich, or they want to be better than other people.
So answer this question for yourself. Why do you want to become a pro player, or why do you want to become a better player? The type of motivation that depends on just being better than others or obtaining some sort of reward might not be good enough to keep you going when things get tough. The greater source of motivation is internal, where you're motivated by personal mastery, competing against only your past self, and driven to become the greatest player that you can be. So before you take any more steps towards improving, stop and get your priorities in check. Commit to a focus on personal mastery rather than external reward. Now, beyond motivation, what does it take to go from a beginner or average player and reach the top rank? And how quickly can you do this? Well, with a full-time professional coach at your side, you might be able to reach the top 1% in a matter of a few months. But if hiring a full-time esports coach isn't realistic for you, you can still make a massive amount of progress over the span of just a couple months. And in my conversation with Jayne, he laid out a complete routine that you can follow to start training like a pro player. And we can break this routine down into the 2 phases of the day, starting with your morning.
We need to control diet. We need to control physical activity. So there'd be some sort of morning physical training. And then after that, you'd have to have basically breakfast and then review plans for the days and the objectives. You'd have an initial block play session for about 2 hours. And that would probably be more of like a combination of experimental and warm-up. And then you'd have more discussions after that.
Now there's a lot to unpack here, but let's start at the top. Jayne mentions diet and physical activity, and these are not to be overlooked. As you develop your skills, your brain is making physical changes on a cellular level, and the food that you eat provides your brain with the building blocks and materials for these changes. So during a time where you want to make a lot of cognitive upgrades, it's key that you give your brain high quality food. Now the second part to this is exercise. In countless studies, it has been shown that exercise can boost important chemicals and growth factors in your brain, like BDNF, which primes your brain for enhanced learning. So starting your training with exercise is critical. The next step for the morning is planning and reviewing. You want to take on a methodical approach to improving, which includes reviewing the lessons from previous training and setting clear goals for what you want to practice that day. From there, you'll move into putting those goals into action, fixing mistakes, honing specific skills, and focusing on improvements and experimentation rather than worrying about your performance. After a few hours of this, it's time to stop and review the results. If you're training with others, you can stop and discuss the results with them, or if you're training by yourself, I recommend journaling about what you learned during that session and what you want to focus on in the afternoon.
And then the afternoon is where you'd really gear it up into performance mode. You'd want to compete for about 4 hours, really trying to nail in the things that you talked about and experimented with in the morning. And then after that, you'd have supper, and in the evening, you'd review where there's less mental work required, and you kind of review the footage, take notes, and then basically the notes from that evening would feed into the morning discussions about kind of what you'd done that day, what you wanted to do in the morning and look for.
So during the afternoon, you'll put your morning lessons and experimentation into action during ranked games. As this happens, you'll switch your aim from working on new skills and experimentation towards achieving maximal performance. And chances are, after 2 to 4 hours of this, you'll start to feel mental fatigue kick in. That's when you can transition into review. During the review portion, you'll start to go over the footage of the games that you just played, breaking down what happened, what went well, what didn't, and what you want to start working on in the following days. Now this is a perfect plan to follow on weekends or complete days off where you have nothing else going on. But if you don't have entire days to commit to your training, you can condense this into a routine that works a bit better for you. For example, you might go for a 20-minute run, then spend an hour or 2 on the planning and practice stage, followed by another hour or 2 on the performance and review. And of course, this will work in a complete cycle, learning and developing plans each day that then feed into the next. And with this methodical and well-planned approach to your training, you will quickly see results, climbing closer and closer to your ultimate goal. Now, as a word of caution, it's easy to set ambitious goals that are outside of your control. Then, as that deadline approaches, you'll realize that you haven't made enough progress, and you'll become increasingly anxious. So as you challenge yourself over a set period of time, whether that's a 30-day challenge or a 60-day challenge, set goals that are focused on process rather than results.
I think the most important thing is that people don't set arbitrary ultimatums for themselves. The main thing that people kind of self-inflict anxiety upon themselves is when they're like, oh, I want to be diamond by Thursday, right? But that's the time frame is arbitrary, the goal is arbitrary. The main metric that you're looking for is just going in the right direction, improving.
If you trained like an esports professional for only a few months, you might be able to reach the top 1% of your game. Of course, for most players, this sounds a little extreme, and admittedly, it is. But with the wisdom from a professional esports coach now in your hands, there's no excuse for you to not at least achieve some of this. Because with a well-planned approach, you can quickly reach the next rank and work your way up to the top 1%. So step up to the plate, create a challenge for yourself, and see how quickly you can improve.
I mean, if you gave me $1 million and had me do this literally full time and you were my only focus,
Yeah.
I would sure as hell hope we could get you to 1% in 2 months.
I want to add that clip into the video so someone offers you $1 million right away, and then
Maybe we'll have to host a summer camp or something like that, like a boot camp. Just lock you in a door, be like, you got 2 months to be an esports professional.
So if you want to offer Jayne $1 million to make you a top 1% player, then hit him up on Twitter. Or at the very least, check out his YouTube channel for some high quality content on Overwatch. The link for his YouTube as well as his social media will all be in the description down below. Now, if you are thinking about doing some sort of 30-day or 60-day challenge for yourself, then I highly recommend checking out our new course. It's essentially a bootcamp style step-by-step course designed to help you blast through skill plateaus and improve your skills as fast as possible. It includes over 30 short videos that go far beyond the tips mentioned in any of our YouTube videos and combines scientific research on how to enhance your motor skills and learning, as well as professional esports advice. So if you want to improve your mechanical skills and game knowledge extremely fast, then check it out using the link in the description. The first 5 people to sign up once this video is posted will receive a free one-on-one coaching session to help you get to a high level of skill as fast as possible. Now, of course, I hope you guys keep learning and keep improving, and I'll see you all in the next video.